Hello, everyone. Welcome to this semester's first Industry Insights. We are very excited for today, live from the Barcelona campus. Today with us, we have Giulia Motteran. She is a multidisciplinary nerd for all things tech. Julia is currently building bridges between 4 years from now and the top tech communities around the globe. She's also responsible for the 4 years from now community culture experience and networking program. With us today, I leave you with Julia for today's presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. So, hi to the 5 people here. It's the first time since February 2020 that I present something in person. So it's panic attack. I'm joking. So let's start. Um, as Paloma said, I'm Giulia. Currently, I'm 4 years from now global engagement manager. And this means that I lead communities in partnership. It's just a fancy way to present it. Today, I'm gonna talk to you about how I got into community building, a bit an overview of different types of communities, some practical guidance on community building, and I will finally take an example of partnership and go through all the kind of the steps and the benefits mostly. So I will tell you a bit more about me. No, first I wanted to start with this statement because it's a kind of the core of community building. So Radha Agrawal has this really nice statement. We are born in community, fully connected to another human. Without connection, we cannot survive. It is in our DNA to belong. Since the prehistoric age, where humankind is a community, right? And building communities allowed us to evolve and to innovate. But everything, it's really just about the sense of belonging in a community. So, where do I belong? I come from a little town in the north of Italy, and I was that kind of a weird kid. I wasn't really fitting everywhere. So with the opportunity to go to the university, I just went out of the city. I went to Verona, that is a bigger one in north of Italy. Not happy, I went to Alicante in Spain. Not happy, I went to Paris. But finally, so where I was studying, the university, and I wasn't really feeling I was part of the community there. I was studying anthropology and history. So finally, I came to Barcelona, and I felt I found my home. And the vibrant city, the community, the multiple communities that you can find in cities such as Barcelona allowed me to grow. And there is one particular moment and one particular community that was really a game changer for me. And that was Transforma. It is a co-working center here in so I just started a desk because I was working remotely then. But the community there was really diverse. You were sitting next to from architects, designers, people, and but also the organization, the Transforma, of Transforma, was really doing the extra mile to make the members of the co-working feel at home. And so I was so really successful on that, that I managed to talk in public, a thing that before I wasn't really able to do, and to become an entrepreneur. So for me, Transforma is the first community and a success case. Why? Because it was, as I said, a diverse community. They were really encouraging the members to be part of the community in the sense that, for example, they had a bi-weekly meeting for whoever wanted to contribute to the evolution of the co-working. That could be, hey, I want to do a graffiti. Hey, I wanted to design a program, a networking thing. And they were really happy to accept this suggestion and give ownership to the member. They also provide the tools. So for me, it was again a game changer because as part of the membership, you could use their space for events, and it's there that I organized my first event. And right now, I'm working on one of the biggest events in Europe. So I was mentioning that there I became an entrepreneur for the first time, and actually also the last time. Because they did a collaboration with Tetuan Valley, that is a startup school based in Madrid, that for the first time they tried to open a chapter in Barcelona. And so I got the opportunity to participate to this startup school program. And so I became one of the, I became part of the 11% of the population that is entrepreneurs and that are trying to launch a million startups every year. So 90% fail, as you might already know, and they fail because mainly for three factors. They don't have a market fit. They don't find the right business model, and they are not properly connected. They don't know the key people of their industry, or to give them opportunities for growing. So my problem was that mostly that I wasn't really in touch with. I was a unicorn. I wish I was. I wasn't really in touch with the people who count. Those people that could vouch for me in front of potential clients, could help me find funding, could teach me how things have to be done. I knew nothing. I was just notice of the situation. So at some point after 2 years, I just quit. And eventually I joined GSMA as a engagement manager. And that's because I really believe that 4 years from now, one of the solutions where finally it was a channel for founders to get noticed by the corporate and investors community, but also for them to connect with each other. So created their own community within the 4YFN community. So my job at 4 years from now is pretty much focused on, and that's why I'm here, on community building. And specifically, what we did, because we are a team, we built a community within the 4YFN community for community builders. And we called it a community club. So the idea is to gather all people like me together at 4 years from now, so they can meet each other, they can build the collaborations, that they can build the relationships. I don't want to go too much in detail because I will mention the community club throughout the presentation. So right now, let's dive in the concept of community building. I would like to ask you and the audience at home, what do you think is community building? So please feel free to intervene from the virtual side to write, etc. What about you? Do you have any idea what could be?
I think it's to belong to a group of people.
You want to see the chat? Ah, yes, sorry. Walter, don't give up.
Don't give up, Walter. Does anyone online have any idea what community building is?
So for you, it's bringing together people.
I think everyone participates
So they have the freedom to direct it the way they want. So everyone like puts a little bit.
And that's a nice definition. Thank you. Someone else? Someone else?
I do have an idea.
Go.
I have an example. In fact, I have an example. You know, like in Harley Davidson, they have this huge community of people that protect each other, that communicate with each other, and they build a family. And now, Harley Davidson is much more than a company. It is a symbol of friendship and family. And I think this what community business really means.
As well. So this is the proof, and actually I'm going to mention Harley Davidson in 2 slides. Community building is not a precise science. There is not so much literature about it. It's something pretty new, even if it's very old, because we've been building communities since forever. But community building in business, it's something really recent. So everyone has a kind of a really good definition of it. So for me, I tried to come up with what I think community building is and how I approach community building. So for me, it's to create the right environment for people to build meaningful relationships between the business and the members, but also among the other members. And everything is around a vision, a common goal, a product, or a specific industry topic, while the community is sustainable and or profitable. So that's my definition. So one really good example of companies that really invested in community building. One is a Salesforce that not only created this 2 million members community. They are all techie, and they support each other. They create content under the umbrella of Salesforce. But also Salesforce has this huge conference every year where all these people, 200,000 of these members, gather together and they connect. And well, Harley Davidson. So your colleague already kind of explained what they did, and probably much better than this slide. So I wanted to go through the type of communities. That's also something everyone has a definition of what type of community, which type of community there are. I tried to categorize them in 3 ways. So one is this, location-based, like a Transforma, the co-working where I was, Barcelona Tech City, that is the startup hub of Barcelona, the Tuan Valley, the startup school where I attended. Identity-based means, for example, Female Investor, that is an online platform for women that want to invest in tech. So the identity is that they are women in tech. The same thing for ITX Fest, that is a festival in San Francisco for Latinos, the Latin America people working in tech. For YFM, of course, because the identity is the founder, and Socialness Foundation is another one that is all about impact. So the identity is that I wanted to be to have a positive impact, or organizational based. So, for example, the community club, because it's related. They can't hear me. It's related to the brand for YFN, as well as Salesforce and Harley Davidson. There are communities that were built around a product or a service. Another categorization is online, offline, and hybrid. Of course, right now in the last year, most of the offline communities went to online or hybrid, depending on the country. But let's, in this presentation, let's try to think that we are soon, we will go back to the new normal. Well, we will arrive to the new normal or go back to normal. So first online community is, for example, Reddit. Reddit, born online, never went offline. So it's purely online. Same thing for female investor. First approach was online and it stays online. Offline, well, Geneva Business School is a community. You are part of the community, right? Of the business school. That is, right now, no, but a priori is an offline community. Same thing for Transforma and for Yes for Now, because we gather once a year in Barcelona, once a year in Los Angeles, once a year in Shanghai. Hybrid, community club, because as part of the program, it's not only meeting each other at the event, but we also run initiatives throughout the year online. And the example of Salesforce, because the community gathered throughout the year online, and then they meet in person at the conference, the main conference. Sorry. Okay. So next, talking about business. As I said, the community has to be profitable or sustainable. So, or it has a direct revenue. So, for example, membership subscription, like a Female Invest, or a Transforma, or a service or content provider, like Geneva Business School, because you pay a tuition. Indirect revenue, so lead generation, brand awareness, product innovation. Example, Salesforce Community Club, Harley Davidson. No profit, Tetuan Valley, they don't make money out of it. They live, and the same as Social Nest Foundation, they live from a private and public donations. So, everything clear up to now. Any question?
Lead generation?
So, lead generation is when you generate some potential, some leads, so potential users, potential clients, potential partners, depending on what your business is. I will go more in detail about this. So everything has something in common, all these communities, that it's the network. So even in your website, to grow your network. In our website, to expand your network. Yeah, support and networking. The network is fundamental, networking. Why? It gives us business opportunities. Expanding your network, where you can find your next client, you can find your next partner, you can find your next job, or you can find your next team member. But also, networking brings to personal and career growth, because most of the time, one of the channels to gather and to engage with the community are events. So with a conference, a panel, a fireside chat, whatever, you're learning something, no? But also among the members, I don't know, I met a Bego, okay? She tells me what she did in Mexico, and I learned a lot from her experience, because she shared her experience with me. So, how to leverage a community network and make it profitable or sustainable? Show me the money. I came up, so to prepare this class, I was reading a lot, trying to see if there was kind of a system like a secret sauce. There isn't. And community building is something very human, very even personal. Every community builder has a different approach. And that's also one of the factors why each community is a kind of unique, because there is the person or the team, no, behind the community. So I came up with kind of a step-by-step guide. Bear with me. The icons are the Apple standards one. So for me, it's very important, again, when you build a community for a business, so not a community just for the sake of, like, I love video games, let's build a community about that. You know, you have already, you need to build a community. You already know that you have to because you have goals. So the first step is to define your objectives, your goals. It means, do I want to have direct revenues, like female investor? If I wanted to be part of the community, I pay a membership. There is no other way I can be part of the community. Lead generation. And now another video so I can rest my voice just a second. Wait. First, I will give you some context, maybe. So, wait. Okay. I'm taking this example. Protopixel is a company I worked with before joining the GSMA. They do creative lighting technology. So, for example, I don't know, you go to Zara and they have these fancy lights that you pass in front and they change color. So they do that. Okay. I was working there as a product marketing, engagement, community, a bit of, it was a small startup. So Swiss Army Knife was my title in the beginning. And I told them, look, there is this festival, the Human Festival here in Barcelona. They are based in Barcelona, of course. That is the Festival of Lights. And there were some artists using their technology. Like, man, you are already there. I mean, we are already working there. We are on site. Let's do a hackathon. So you gather the community, and they can become your potential clients or users. And so we did it, and this is the video of the third edition. So they continued doing it even after I left the company. And I will show you because people you can understand the impact it had on the participants. Oh.
Hack the Light Up is the space that the Pixel has created for the lighting community to get together. This is the second edition, where we have more than 100 applications. We have selected 40 hackers from all around the world with a great diversity of profiles, so they can get together and think about the future of lighting.
My motivation to take part in the workshop was to basically see how lighting can really influence the experience of an event and any kind of format.
The biggest takeaway that we'll have from today is being able to meet amazing people and making great connections and learning.
From 5 years from now, I don't want to see it as Vegas style project anymore. I want to have interactive technologies and lighting projects in place that are meaningful and also serving the city.
So that was, a successful example of lead generation. That's because I asked to the CEO to send me some data he had after the last hackathon, and he told me that he got a retention of 80%. So 80% of the participants became recurring users, and 30% of them became paid users. So that's kind of, they not only position themselves like the technology for lighting, for creative lighting, but also they made money out of it. So that was lead generation. Multipliers, that it's a kind of a nicer way for saying low-cost marketing. And I feel pretty, I mean, for me, the community club is kind of my baby. I'm a bit selfish in this because actually the community club existed before I arrived, but it wasn't structured, didn't have a name, didn't have a brand, but still. One of the, actually it's one of the arguments I have internally in the company to keep the community club going is that they are multipliers. So what does it mean? It means that for them, if they want to be part of the community club, the only thing that we ask is to help out to spread some for life and love. It means that whenever we have an open call, whenever we have a discount for tickets, we ask them to share it. If they share it, we give them free tickets to come to Barcelona. So in 2019, in 2019, I think we generated through this evil system over 100 social media posts for free. So these posts were reaching an audience that we didn't have for free. So that was a win-win, you know, and the community had free tickets. Then another objective could be talent acquisition. For example, Transforma or Unity technology. They both have this big, they call it a community, but at the end, it's also customer support because they contribute to the forum, but they also can meet each other and they can showcase what they do with the product. And that's how, for the HR team, how to find, you know, the right fit for the company, because they are already users, so you don't have to do a big onboarding for them, but also they can really showcase how much they're showcasing how much they love the company, the product. And last but not least, well, first of all this brings to brand awareness. Every community you build around a product or a service will eventually position you. No? There is a nice case. Well, I'm a video game enthusiast, so I really wanted to put some Nintendo stuff here. And in the 90s, I think a few years after Nintendo opened the company in the US, they were just having traction because people weren't so in the US in the beginning that they weren't really convinced about the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, where you can play, well, the old NES. But at the end, they convinced the public to use and buy. So to kind of taking the, how would you say in English? Irkolaola.
Go with the wave.
Go with the wave.
Or with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Yes, or ride the wave.
Ride the wave. Ride the wave. They organized this worldwide tournament that in the end was only in the US, but they went through 30 cities to do tournament with a special cartridge of Nintendo that eventually became one of the most expensive Nintendo collectibles. And so they did the brand awareness then, and they are still, it's still paying off. What we have next? Yes. So if you have none of all these objectives, your community won't be sustainable. And there is an example, a community I tried to build and that failed in the sense that I had no goal. It was just because I really enjoyed it, you know? But at the end, I need the money somehow. And I will show it to you also because I'm a bit nostalgic and it's been a while I didn't see this video. It's a 30 seconds video. So I can rest my voice. So the idea was to gather creative technologists and providing a really fun but also educational experience to the attendees, because I was trying to involve technologies that were still behind the university doors. I had a lot of friends working in tech, like doing research in the university in Pompeu Fabra, so I had them quite easy to join for with their projects. So here you go.
Are we getting through? Is anything happening? Turn right now. We're up there. That's good. Cool. You say we're getting there. Cool, fine. Cool. Anyhow.
So a parenthesis, in the beginning of the video, you see interactive wall, lighting wall. So that was the first project, Protopixel, the company then I worked for, and we organized the hackathon. That was the first project because they were all coming from it was a university research project. And they started to commercialize it because of this event. Because I gave them this use to show, well, I forced them to prepare something. And at the end, someone that attended the event was like, oh, this is so cool. Take my money, more or less. Okay, next. Target. Oh, what's happening? So the second step is to identify your target. So who's your target? What are their interests? What can be done for the target? What the community will talk about. One thing that is very important as a community builder, you don't really need to be an expert in a topic. So I don't know, Salesforce, or no, Harley Davidson. I don't ride a bike, but I like watching the bike. It's a mood, a vibe that I really like. So I could build a community for them, even if I'm not a motorbike expert. The only important thing is that you are passionate somehow about it. Otherwise, you cannot really build a community if you don't love what the community is about. So in my case, another community I built that wasn't sustainable, by the way, that I did for fun, and I had a lot of fun, was this retro gaming VCN, so video game related community. And I didn't know, honestly, I never played video games until 5 years ago. That's because in my family, my parents never allowed me to play video games. So I was pretty new, but I partnered with these two guys, and they were both, one was a indie studio founder, and the other one developer that was in the spare time programming video games. So it's important to set your to really understand your audience. It's like a product, like a startup. Understand your audience and provide what you think, what they need. Then, of course, you need to check out your competitors. And it's not so bad to copy, kind of. I mean, if they have best, like really good practices, if you talk with them, the community thinks it's sharing is caring, right? So you can just take the best from them, of course, initiate a conversation with them first. It's not that you just steal things, but learn from the best and check out what the others are doing, just to make sure that you are different. So that's why you need to have a competitive advantage.
Why should I join your community instead of another that is doing exactly, that are offering exactly the same? So in the case of the community club, as you saw, there were some communities that were doing something similar. What they didn't have was a physical space. So we built on site a lounge and we treat them, the community builders, as a VIP. They could have meetings, they could meet each other. We were having networking, cocktails there. So really to kind of force them to be together, and they loved it. And also we put them literally on the map. And that was something so simple, but it was really how to showcase in the community while also giving to each member importance. So are competitors potential collaborators? I do believe that they are. For example, there is another conference that everyone in my company say, oh, they are competitors, don't talk with them. Like, no, they are not competitors. We complete each other. And I managed, well, we did some things together. One of them was this event in their offices in Amsterdam, and it went just great. We brought something they didn't have, that was the global visibility, and they brought us not only a super cool space, but also they were really, really well connected in Amsterdam, that we weren't at the time. Channel and engagement. That's the tricky part. It's very, very specific. There are different ways. So, like different ways to how do you gather the community. And here we try to focus on the online side of the online formats, because we are where we are. So, of course, social media groups are the first easy step to build the community. Web platforms like Slack or Circle, it's a new platform for community building. Virtual events, Zoom and co. Hopin, that is a bit more sophisticated platform and co. And every other company that is doing the same. And recently, Clubhouse. And then other formats can be workshops or hackathon that you can do online as well. So basically, social media platform, you write down and you engage with the members in a written way. Same for a web platform. Virtual events, it's like today. And then a workshop hackathons are a bit more hands-on. So a smaller crowd. So how to keep them engaged? And of course, never forget the newsletter and social media. I give it for a fact that's something that every business, even the smallest, should have. Channels and how to keep them engaged. That's the 1 million question. It's very difficult, mostly online. Very, very difficult. What I learned is that the most curated you do it. So let's say you have a community of 200 people with a kind of the same profile, but they are still different, and you can isolate them in 10 different subgroups. Attack them one at a time. So you keep them engaged, you keep them engaged because you are providing, you're offering a content that is really for them. You make sure that they are interested. So what we did for the community club was to do some bi-weekly coffee when with COVID started, when we were on lockdown. And each of them, I put a limit of 10 people for each session, and each session had a very specific topic that I knew that was relevant for at least 10 people among the 150 we have. So content needs, of course, to be really up to date with the latest trends. Aesthetic, that's the fun part. You build a community, just give it some identity, make it pretty. it's very important because you want your members to be proud to have the sticker with the logo of your community. They are part of the community. So, for example, for the retro gaming, Harley Davidson is a perfect example of this. No? In my small world, what I did was a really cool logo, and then during the events, I was offering this Haribo homemade with our logo. It was fun. And of course, set the tone. Do you want, again, that's related to the audience, so do you want to be an informal community where people can take their tie off? Or do you want to have a more professional community, so your tone should be a bit more formal, etc. I'm going a bit fast because, no? We are kind of done. Oh, metrics. That's the boring, very boring part. And that's also, it's not easy to measure the success of a community because it's really based on a human relationship. So, but you can come up with some tricks and hack it a bit. So, for example, what I did for the community club, we use an hashtag, and that was easily traceable. So I could measure the impact, as I said before, no, on our social media, how much the engagement was. So that's an example. Of 100 social media posts extra. So the low marketing thing I was mentioning before. We could have done more. I just didn't want to insist too much. So to conclude the part about the community building, I think I went through this very practical stuff, but the important is that sharing is caring. Community is based on sharing experience, support, contacts, etc. Every community should have a positive impact, like the Harley Davidson one. It's for family and friends. The community club is to make our future better, etc. Be inclusive. Everyone should be welcome in a community. If you start to be to select, it's you lose the concept of community. There are no competitors. Always try to embrace the ones you think are competitors, because together we are better. And most important is to have fun. If you don't have fun, you cannot really grow your community. So that's about the community building. And the next is partnerships. So up to now, anyone has any question?
No, all clear.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Yay!
What does 4YFN mean?
4 years from now. So there was a study a few years ago that said that if a startup lives more than 4 years, it means that it's a success. So that's why. 4 years from now.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Anything else?
Any questions on the chat? Maybe nothing.
No, Paloma, but I want to apologize for being so late. It's because I need to turn on a VPN in my country to be able to watch the lecture, so it was giving me a hard time.
No problem, Cedra. Thanks for letting me know. No problem at all.
I have a question.
Yes.
These kinds of buildings, do they help to build startups? Like, is it their main kind of target or goal, or it's not their responsibility?
The community builders.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, community building can be. Of course, I come from the startup ecosystem. I've been working in startups, so that's what kind of do. And it's true that community building is easier in the startup ecosystem because there is a culture, but it doesn't mean that you cannot apply it to big corporation like Salesforce or Harley Davidson or McDonald's.
So can start with media?
Community building is not a start. There are communities that are a startup.
Yeah. Yes.
There are, for example, the women investor. The one I mentioned at the beginning, that you pay a membership to be part of the network of women that want to invest. That's a startup. So the community is the business and is the startup.
What is the best idea to build community building for an e-commerce platform?
So depends on your goals. Again, what do you want to achieve?
Because they don't have it, for example, if you
I believe that they have. Have you checked out Shopify?
For example, eBay or Wallapop, or they don't interact. They consume, but they don't feel proud that they belong or they buy from this platform.
Because this platform didn't create a community around it.
Yeah, but what is the best idea to? For example, give me ideas.
So,
a newsletter, for example, or I don't know.
Well, it's not so easy in a newsletter. If you have only a newsletter, it's a marketing communication. But if you create, I don't know, 5 weeks boot camp, how to build an e-commerce, powered by eBay, join the community, learn from our experts. That's how you can start a community around eBay. Yes.
Have you ever heard of the Dollar Shave Club?
The what?
The Dollar Shave Club.
The Dollar Shave Club. You pay $1 and they give you, I think every month you get like razors. It's like this startup in the US that became super famous.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
So basically from what she explained, so I know for that example, they sometimes have like groups and then like a whole community. Now it sounds like a very complicated word. They have like a whole community and they just share on shaving and all that type of stuff. So I guess just to answer that other lady's question.
They made like men feel proud that they were part of the like I'm not only shaving, but products and I'm part of this community.
Okay.
And then there's some people who like to keep beards, but that's all about shaving.
So that's then I will check it out. I didn't know it before, so I will check it out. Thank you. But I believe that's a community around a product, no, a company, right, Bego?
Yeah, yes. And they woke up this sense of pride, not only for shaving, but for shaving using that product specifically. Yeah.
I think now, there are some, and now I cannot remember one of it. Okay, we check it out. Thank you very much. So, other questions? Otherwise, I will go really briefly. Do we have time?
I have one question. Yes. How much do you like to control or regulate the content that is shared within the community as it grows up? So, for example, I've seen with communities like Super High. So Super High is this platform where they sell courses for creatives. So creative people learn how to code their own like website. Like it's very simple coding, but as the community, so the community started in Slack, and at the beginning it was the content that was shared was super like valuable, high content and knowledge. It was about sharing knowledge. But as the community keeps growing, now I think they have like 6,000 or maybe 10,000 people.
and now like nobody participates anymore because it's only about maybe like the people that are joining, they are just like pitching their own products or things like that. So like the interaction or the connection was lost. And I've always wondered, if I was in charge of that community, would you like censor some posts or just like remind people that they should be interacting with other members of the community instead of just pitching their own projects? Because now nobody participates. It's just like this spam of projects.
So that's why I'm really not a fan of really big online communities. I don't think they are very effective unless they are highly moderated. But then kind of loses the concept of community, of engagement among the members. So, well, actually there is Yuval Noah, I cannot remember the Sapiens author, that in the Sapiens, someone wrote the name, I think, it says that humans cannot, big groups over 150 people are not effective. You cannot know as a person more than 150 people that you trust, right? So that's why I really try also the curated networking. You can have like a massive channel, it's fine, but then to engage the ones that want to be engaged, I suggest these small groups or more curated initiatives, actions.
But like, can communities have different branches? Like we have like normal side community, and it's like was spread for the whole world. So it has different branches in this country. Is it possible, or there are only like communities of like 150 and 200 like 50 people, and like is it possible?
So we have, for years from now, has a community of 10,000 of people, but within the bigger community of the 4 years from now, we built the community club, but as well the investors club. So community within the community for community builders and a community within the community for investors. And Startup Grind, they have chapters. So they have a global community or Startup Nights, but they have these smaller communities that are location-based. You cannot really, I don't believe in one global community. It would be beautiful, but it's impossible.
People don't know each other.
Exactly.
There's someone that has notice. If you want to go ahead with your example.
Sure. So I was also thinking of an idea, like the internet also gives you good anonymity if you want to. What about a community that like nobody knows anybody? You don't know anybody's name. You don't know anybody's like any details. You just talk about stuff. And if you want, you actually start organizing stuff. Turns out this already exists. There's many like versions of it. Probably the most popular is 4chan because it doesn't need no registration or anything. It's just like image boards where you can write text or post images. And then other people can comment or like tag you or whatever, but it won't show your name. It will show you as anonymous and other people will be anonymous. It doesn't show your location either. The thing is that like, if a certain thing happens, it can trigger a chain reaction big enough in that community where it actually affects the real life. For example, generally they play pranks on people, like releasing fake iPhone commercials where they say, stick your iPhone in a microwave, it will charge it in 6 seconds. And people actually do that. Or for example, they had created a joke of like a black man with an afro and it says pools closed because it was like a pool in a game and they stood around it and wouldn't let like anybody enter it. And it actually transcended the game and got out into real life as a racist phenomenon, even though it was only like a joke that didn't want to like offend anybody. And these communities, they don't really are not centralized, they don't know each other, but they actually have an effect on the real life in some way or other, which is actually an interesting phenomenon that didn't really happen before.
Definitely. But that's why I'm really not including this type of communities, like, for example, Facebook. Facebook is a global community. And yes, you know where the people are, blah, blah, blah. But I don't put it in the category of communities for business. It's totally, I think, another word.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's scary sometimes, you know, it's like Facebook is scaring. Well, Reddit, okay, I used it as an example. Sorry, it was a lazy example thing, that's my bad. But just thinking about the GameStop phenomenon. Yeah. And that came through because of Reddit, of someone at Reddit, and they really did. I mean, you can be whoever you want in these channels, right? So that's why that's completely. I think it's more a sociology, so oh my gosh, I'm dyslexic. I'm sorry. Anyhow, yeah, I'm not really an expert on that because I think it's a completely different. Well, I think it is a completely different type of community. Doesn't have. It's not related to business, so it's a bigger topic. Controversial also.
Do you think it's a possibility? Sorry for interrupting, by the way.
No,
do you think it's a possibility for a business to actually somehow utilize these communities, even though like others, maybe there is as you said, like it's related to sociology probably, because you still need to understand human psychology and many other aspects on how a person operates in their buying cycle or whatever, like their researching cycle for products. Could be any part of their buying cycle. But like, could it still be like utilized somehow? That maybe some businesses are too aggressive with their marketing. Maybe they need to like diffuse information more, like subliminal messaging. I don't know.
It could be possible, however, if you don't know who you are targeting, because it's an anonymous based community. Why should you spend money on that if you cannot really measure? If you don't know if that's your target. I mean, if you are an evil company, you create like a super spammy campaign, and you don't give a shit. But I mean, I would see it more for political, in politics, or I don't know. What do you think?
But you know what I think? I also believe, I don't know if you mentioned before, yeah, you mentioned that this coding community and then a lot of spams they appear. I think a lot of publicity and spam viruses that will also appear. And this kind of
yeah, but well, again,
the control.
Yes, definitely. But that's a really interesting. Thank you very much. What was
no juice?
No juice. Thank you very much. It was really interesting.
Sorry.
And I will look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry for taking your time. Yeah, for this like
No,
conspiracy
why?
weird network.
No.
Although, if you do go on 4chan, don't go on the random board. Like, go on to politics or somewhere else. But like, I don't recommend it. Like, just for humanity's sake.
Okay. Thank you for the tip. Okay. So anything else, or should I just finish?
You want to go to it quickly? You want to go to it quickly?
Yes. So partnerships. Well, I don't know. It's kind of a bummer to start another. I don't know. Maybe we will keep it for next time.
Wink.
No.
If there's any specific slide you want to maybe mention,
So well, no, not really. Maybe we can ask because also people now it's a bit tired. They're tired. So yes, question.
can you build a community on you were talking about competitors. Can we build a community like being against certain competitors, like on rejecting identity? So like we are not like them, for example,
Like
something like from this.
Like if 4 years from now, instead of
Collaborating.
collaborating,
We're not the next level. We do things differently, and
like instead of what you presented with Amsterdam, like instead of joining them, like saying we're not like them, and then through that reinforcing
So
your
the identity of community comes from rejecting and opposing someone else's identity as a community, or is it going to be like a too negative connotation?
I think it's too negative because it's then you don't need a community. You just do aggressive marketing. You don't need a community to say we are not like them.
What about Samsung making fun of Apple? They basically like build community around rejecting, like we're not Apple, and like I mean, no, but those like advertising with like this weird thing, like.
But that's advertisement. It's different.
But they were triggering this in the community, like.
Yes, also
like,
Microsoft. Yes, but are they targeting the community? I mean, it's a commercial marketing campaign. It's a marketing campaign. It's not that they are telling that, hey, join my group, my coders group, because we treat you better than Apple developers. They don't say that. If I'm not correct, maybe, but that would be a really ugly move. You don't build a community by telling me you are the best. You build a community because the message should be together, we will be better.
So you can like separate between the community and the like marketing strategy.
So, well, one thing that I wanted, maybe I can do that. If you go down, sorry. The bonus. Bonus. This one? Yes. So I want to kind of explain a bit the role of community builder. So community builder is not a community manager. The community manager is someone that is running the social media channels of a company and is a fully part of the marketing team. The community builder is a hybrid position. That's why it's not very common right now, but it's becoming more and more requested position, a requested role. And the community builder is between marketing, between strategy, communication and PR, sales as well, operations, well, less, do a lot of project management. Usually a community builder doesn't really work on social media, doesn't really work on marketing campaigns, but they community leaders work with the different teams for the community. So it's really a multidisciplinary, that's why I'm good on that. A multidisciplinary role and operates in different departments. It's still a branch of the marketing, but it's not only that. So that's why marketing campaign doesn't really, depending on the target, but it's not related to the community directly. So there are two different things. The community is the human side of a company, while marketing is marketing. You know.
Not you. Monster.
And yeah, then well, a partner manager. I didn't went through the partnership, so it's fine. But yes, there is a big difference between community builder and even if maybe if you are looking for a job in community building, you want to find community builder as a title. Can be engagement, like me. Can be head of ecosystem. Can be ecosystem relations. Can be even partners relations in some cases. So basically, no one has a really clear idea what a community builder does, but it's changing. It's changing.
Like probably do a community, like
What? Sorry.
Like the community builder, like he probably builds a community, so like this person that is the founder, or how can we like define him?
It's a community builder is in between in between jobs, between roles. It's not a founder unless your community is your company. So like the founder, women founders, or Furious Now. Okay, the director of Furious Now. I mean, if you start a small event and people pay to, it's your business. They pay the ticket and you make money out of the ticket. Then your community is your business, then you're a founder and a community builder.
So music festivals is the case of community being your business. Music festivals.
Yes, for example. But music festival, it's different. It's different. It's another category. It's entertainment. While tech conferences, but also trade shows, corporate trade shows. You go there to make business, to make network, to learn from the conference side of the event, to share your experience because you're a speaker and blah, blah, blah.
Unless you would make like a music festival where people first have to join a community and they create the lineup on their own or something like that. No?
So in this sense, Sona by day, Sona plus D, that is the professional. Sonar is the music festival here in Barcelona. Everyone is kind of familiar. It's like the biggest electronic music festival in Europe. They have a Sonar plus D. It's a 4 days event during Sonar. And it's for professionals of the industry, for the ecosystem, the music tech ecosystem. So you go there and you can also enjoy the festival with the same ticket. So that's an example that they built a community, but they targeted a community within kind of the community of sort of electronic music enthusiasts.
Was there like an event in history when like two communities like they have collaborated and built one community? Like what like this kind of thing?
I think there are some examples. Now I have none on top of my head, but there must be something that.
But it's possible, yeah. Like
It is, of course. Yes, it's enters in the collaboration and the partnership thing. But yes, definitely. And I'm pretty sure there are some really outstanding examples. Right now, I cannot think of any. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The chef.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Yes. Go for it.
Okay. Ma'am, I have it's a complicated way of putting this, but I'm trying to put it as simple as I can. You talked about sustainability, right? You said some of the topics, some of the points weren't sustainable. So I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. So how do you manage growth? One, and how do you keep your community relevant? And let's say everyone just starts leaving the community. How do you spark revival in a sustainable way?
How can you repeat the first one? I will go one by one.
Sorry. Okay. So I said, how do you manage growth? Like
Growth.
one of the
So growth of the community, like of the members. Yes, the growth of the. Well, of course. Can you do me an example, because there are different types, different type of growth. You mean in the number of members, like the general growth?
Yes, ma'am. Just the general growth, nothing. Yeah.
Well, you need to expand the team, because again, it's a kind of it's very communities, the good ones, at least this is my point of view after some years of experience, but they are pretty much based on human relationships. So one person cannot really keep up with a growth in members. You cannot talk with everyone all the time. So first of all, you expand. You make sure that it's still relevant. But again, do you really want, depending on what's your target, maybe you want to think about creating these sub-communities to make sure, micro communities within the big community, to make sure that it keeps relevant for almost everyone. You will have always have someone that, a lot of people that won't be members anymore, but you always have some new ones. So it's like this. Did I answer to your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And last one, how do you revive a dying community? Like
Okay.
something that you're passionate about.
The good thing is that people, when just with a newsletter, with a really good news, with a really maybe a change of identity, a change of brand, new colors, a new tone, but you keep the message kind of the same. That's already something, because it showcases that you evolved. So I'm saying, so your community is dying. Maybe take a break, rethink everything. If it's dying, why it's dying? Because it's not relevant anymore, because you don't have the resources anymore, etc. So you rethink everything and you relaunch with similar, because the target, your list is the same. So you need to keep it relevant for them, but just give it a look and an update, basically, for better, of course. That's what I would do if I had a dying community.
That's great. And then for FYN, right? And other successful communities, what do you think are like common trends that they all have?
So for years from now, it's all about money. It's all about business. That's the most important aspect, offer that we have, that brings so many people. Then the knowledge sharing, and then I think the fun as well. But yes, mainly it's an event for making business happen. So everyone is interested in business, even if they tell they are not, but they are with their ears opened. So you're not coming maybe because you need to make business, but you're open to it. Why not? I'm here, you know? So that's the common trait of our attendees.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? One last question. Any other comments? No? Then thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was very, very interesting. I hope everyone enjoyed it here and at home. I knew previously sent a form to fill out on the chat. If everyone can please fill it out to get your feedback on the session, whether you're a student or not, just take a few minutes to fill it out. And thank you very much to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.